Y'all hear me? My mic has been having issues as of late, so now I definitely need y'all right now if y'all can hear me. W in the chat if y'all can hear me. Javier, this is not being fair because Chase Elliott and Alex Bowman need to win today. Bowman, definitely. Chase, I think he's fine. Appreciate it, Javier. Thank you. Chelsea Boy 2014, thank you. NASCAR 2055 CB, Kiwi, absolutely. All right, let me just get the gimmick out of the way. Hola, mi amigos y mi amigas. Me llamo Armani y bienvenido para la Cutline. I did say I was going to do the intro in Spanish. I'm not going to do the entire episode in Spanish. I might sprinkle a few in here and there, but if you guys do want to hear me in Spanish, we put out a short back on Friday where I did the whole thing in Spanish. So if you want to check that out, go back. Well, first of all, stay tuned for this episode, and then go watch the short. Hola, amigos. Hola, Raging Knuckles. ¿Cómo estás? And, all right, let's just get this out of the way. I have a very special guest on today. He's been on the show before, and let me tell y'all something. When SVG won this race, I was so happy that this man came on. Whether you love the guy, whether you hate the guy, I love him 9 times out of 10. And then there's that 1 time out of 10 I want to, strangle him. all jokes aside, though, you can hear him laughing in the side. Let me just bring him on. NASCAR opinion, my man Will. What's going on, man?
Man, just hanging out here on a Father's Day Sunday. Have a little cold drink. I may or may not disclose what we got in here, and enjoying the race from Mexico. Having fun, just trying to relax a little bit before we get back at it on a Monday.
Oh, we're not going to be relaxed. So maybe let me rephrase that. I know for a fact you won't be relaxed. I know for a fact you won't be relaxed after this. Man, just what a race in Mexico. Just first of all, but before we talk more about Mexico, I do want to give a little bit of a plug. If you guys were here last week, I did the same thing. I'm going to do it again this week. So, if you guys are big into the short track scenes, like my buddy Will over here, of course, he's announced at multiple short tracks. I've seen him announce at Livonia. I know he's at Anderson nowadays. He's been at Cherokee in the past. This man has announced at short tracks all across the country. But speaking of short tracks, if you guys want to support your local short tracks, the short track culture in general, check out the new 50 States of Short Tracks magazine here. AE Engines, Daily Downforce, all that stuff. Partnered with My Race Pass. We got short tracks on here from all over the country. There's even some states in here, like I believe Florida's got multiple short tracks in this magazine. I know Iowa does, Idaho, you name it. Short track culture personified in this magazine right here. And best of all, your favorite post-race show host, he's an author in this magazine as well. He's a credited writer. I mean, Alltech Raceway, for example, Salmon Valley Speedway, Lakeside Speedway. So many just wonderful tracks, and just getting to learn the culture of short track racing. Everything is incredible. I mean, this magazine is amazing. You can order on the dailydownforce.com, go to 50 States of Short Tracks, and, even the short tracks that participate in this magazine, they get cuts, they get copies of them as well. And not only that, if you buy a magazine from the short track, they keep 100% of the profit. So every dollar that these tracks make, that they sell with these magazines, it's all going to them. So it's going to a great cause, especially with the short track culture nowadays and just the short track environment. So many of them closing down left and right. Things like this, 50 States of Short Tracks, again, it is a great thing for short track culture. So again, and for me personally, it's the first magazine I've ever been a credited publisher on. So, an accredited writer on, accredited, however you say the word. But either way, 50 States of Short Tracks magazine. Go to dailydownforce.com and get your copy today. Let's take a look at the comments here real quick. CB, Feliz Días del Padre. Happy Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to you too. Hola mi amigo Kiwi. Eso. That should tell you how Spanish I am. The fact that I say eso all the time. Damascus Stalker. Buenas tardes. That magazine makes a great belated Father's Day gift. Most definitely. So, I know you're running a little bit close on time, Will, so we'll just jump straight into it. Let's start with the big one. the winner of this race, Shane Van Gisbergen. Now, I had Shane Van Gisbergen in my fantasy league, so for personal reasons, I am very happy that SVG got the win. But I just want to talk about something. You know, there are just some guys, not even just race car drivers. We hear how Max Verstappen or Kyle Larson are the best race car drivers in the world. Though me personally, I would put Juan Pablo Montoya in that category over Larson or Max 10 times out of 10. But there are just some guys, even just in sports in general, that they make what they do look alien. Like LeBron James, the fact that he's still an all-star, an NBA all-star at the age of 40, alien. Tom Brady, throwing for over 5,000 yards in his 40s, alien. And if you want to go into racing, what Kyle Larson does on dirt, alien. Max Verstappen winning all but 3 races in 2023, alien. Look at the win margin from SVG. 16.5, if you round it up, 16.6 seconds. You don't get, that's a Formula 1 win margin. You get that in F1. You're not supposed to have these kinds of win margins in NASCAR. And SVG, he took the field out to lunch. I have never seen a driver more dominant in just a specific area like this before. Like, folks, like, what's up, him? What's up, Matt? But 16.5 seconds. Like, I gotta ask, has Jeff Gordon, like, this is a genuine question. Has Jeff Gordon ever won this in this kind of margin? Has Dale Earnhardt? Richard Petty probably, but that was back in the 50s when winning by 2 laps was normal. But talk about the modern era. Have we ever seen a margin of victory like this? I mean, folks, Christopher Bell, he was about 3-4 seconds in front of Chase Elliott in third, which I didn't even know he got third. Great result for him. But SVG, 16 seconds. That's not normal, guys. This is why Trackhouse hired him. Remember at the beginning of the season, everyone was wondering, should SVG really be in a Cup car? Is he really Cup ready? As long as there's road courses on the Cup schedule, he will be Cup ready 10 times out of 10. Guys, this is alien. SVG had a near 10-second lead at the end of stage 2. Even at the beginning, like, I'm at a loss for words, but I don't think we understand just how good he is he is here. Like, this is, we all thought that Kyle Larson in Bristol Dirt, which he never won one of those, by the way. We thought that Larson would be unstoppable when they went to Bristol Dirt. Turns out he wasn't. We thought that AJ Allmendinger would put numbers like this when he came back to Cup for road courses. That hasn't really been the case yet. And I know that the Cup Series car is more resembling to a supercar than ever, which is SVG's background, but to put into perspective, 16.5 seconds, I'm pretty sure that margin of victory is the same if you brought together second to the top 10. And I still think SVG was higher, was still a larger gap. This is insanity. Like, we'll talk about the playoff implications in a moment, but this margin of victory, to see what this man does when everyone's on a clean slate at a road course and it's just who is the best of the best. SVG makes the Cup guys look like they're ARCA drivers in terms of a skill level. That is how much better he is at road courses compared to everyone else. It is scary how good he is. All right. Well, I'm done glazing this. Fantastic. But, Will, I'm done glazing SVG. What are your thoughts? Again, we'll get to the playoff implications in a moment, but just this man's skill on a road course. Like, am I underestimating it? If I overestimating it? Because, again, a 16-second lead, that's F1 numbers. Those aren't supposed to be NASCAR numbers.
Yeah, well, Armani, I think what this does is it confirms how good he is. I think we all saw it a couple of years ago at Chicago, him go out winning his first ever start. And that was phenomenal, something that never been done before in the modern Cup era. But until you see something happening more than once, you don't know if it was just a one-time kind of deal or if this is truly who he is. And, the pleasure of me being right most of the time is when I am wrong occasionally, I'm fine admitting it. Before the race today, it was announced that SVG was like the biggest Vegas favorite ever for a Cup race.
I saw that, yes.
I was thinking, how? I don't get me wrong. I get it. Respect the guy. Understand that he's going to be one of the favorites. Understandable. But I was thinking, man, this is still kind of tough. You're still going to have those regulars that are going to emerge. And boy, did he prove me wrong and prove Vegas right. I guess Vegas does know what they're doing because SVG, it's not that he just showed up. He looked a little pedestrian in like the second stage. By pedestrian, running second. And then all of a sudden was just gone. Got clean track and was just rolling. And I think all this does is I think it proves me and everybody else. I'm not going to say a little bit wrong. I've respected SVG since he's come to the sport, but I think we kind of hear all the, as you would say, glazing of some of these guys. And yes, he did win a race, but he hasn't won on a road course since. People made it sound like he was going to get 3-4 wins a year, with 6 or 7 road course races on the schedule. He's had 1, and he hadn't won in like his last 6 road course starts. He's been close. But today he goes out, and I don't know how he doesn't immediately become the favorite at every single road course race we go to throughout the rest of the year. I know they're all a little bit different. Some is not as technical as other places. But I think SVG just punched everybody in the mouth. 16-plus seconds. That is crazy. That's over a lap at Bristol, from first to second. I can't explain it myself either. It was just a bona fide butt whipping for him. I wish the overall race was a tad bit better, but sometimes you just got to appreciate a good ass whooping, and that's what happened.
And I really do. I'm glad you mentioned that at the end. I really do appreciate when a driver, a team, or just anything in sports or competition is just flat out better than everyone. Like, I know domination isn't really something so flashy in sports. 9 times out of 10, we hate it. Like, when the Chiefs are on their dynasty, we hate that. Or when LeBron is winning everything, we hate that. Or when Max is winning everything, they hate that. I appreciate that because it really just shows we may never see something like this again. Like, we may never see a 16.5 second win again in NASCAR. Especially with how close these guys are with the next-gen car, basically being a spec car, unfortunately. But, with something like this, remember, the whole point of the next-gen car is supposed to show the driver talent. You're not going to get showing driver talent more than what we just saw with SVG today.
Yeah, and I think it also helps in terms of when you have someone that's so dominant, it creates an extra storyline if anybody can even think about getting close.
Yes.
Middle of the race, Ty Gibbs seemed like Ty Gibbs was the only guy that could somewhat compete with the 88, and that became an immediately storyline because of Ty Gibbs in his past. In the 54, he still never won a Cup race. Does evil Ty Gibbs come back? If late in the race it's between those two, unfortunately, we didn't get to see that storyline unfold. But I think that's part of the beauty of a dominance, and that's why we hate dynasties in the moment, but you appreciate dynasties once they're gone, is because part of the fun of sports is the chase of beating that dynasty. Yes. When the Kansas City Chiefs are phenomenal, it makes beating the Chiefs even better because you're beating that dynasty.
It makes it special.
And so I really, part of me kind of hopes that we see Van Gisbergen really take off on all these road courses because you want him to become the guy that's who you got to beat. You don't want this to be just a one-time deal and then, he's kind of sort of mid-pack the rest of them, which I don't think he'll be. But it creates that storyline throughout the year because we've got 3 or 4 more road courses coming up in the next couple of months. And if you can create that narrative of, dude, you got to get through this guy. And if you can get to him, you're bad to the bone. That creates an extra storyline that we need.
Absolutely. Let's see the comments here. Matt saying what's up to you and I. A little NASCAR by the numbers reunion. If you guys know the history that Will and I have from over 5, it's crazy, almost 5 years ago already. But if you guys know the history, that's a little Easter egg right there. Rosemary Gonzalez, he's a multi-time supercar champ for a reason. Absolutely. And Johnny, I saved your comment for last because it's going to go right into our next topic here. Johnny on the track. First of all, SVG is cool and all, but run better than 29th on an oval, bro. He is getting better at road course. If you pay attention to that ovals. If you pay attention to that 88, I've mentioned it in the past. He is getting better. But the comment I want to highlight is going to take us right into our next topic. Priest got screwed by this dumb format. Let's talk about the dumb format here, and I'm going to start things off with pulling up a tweet from you, Will. You guys can't see him right now, but you can see his tweet right here, which apparently caused a lot of commotion with NASCAR Twitter, because everything that Will does causes commotion with NASCAR Twitter. I jokingly call him the negative Nancy of NASCAR for a reason, but I just want to say right now, spoiler alert, he's dead spot on here. If the guy 33rd in points locks himself into the playoffs today, I'm making it known and I'll have things to say. Will, you better have some things to say when I bring you back on here in just a moment. So here's my thing. Harrison Burton made the playoffs last year. We've seen it before. The driver dead last in points making it into the playoffs. Let's also put something here before I give my thoughts, and then we get to Will in just a moment. Shout out to Speed Freaks. I've been following them closely recently. They put a poll out. You guys should check them out, by the way. Hopefully we can get one of them on soon onto the show. Shane Van Gisbergen came into Sunday 33rd in points. Should he be playoff eligible? Majority of people, 64%, say yes. And here's my thing. And I know Will will go more into it with what he wants to say, but I want to say this as well. Racing isn't just about winning. We know it should be majority of the time winning, but it shouldn't be the end all be all. But I know Will's going to go more into this, but I want to give my perspective on the SVG win. What should the storyline be for Shane Van Gisbergen winning at Mexico? The storyline should be NASCAR to Mexico was a success. In my opinion, it was. The storyline should be Shane Van Gisbergen with one of the most dominant performances we've seen in terms of a margin of victory in modern Cup Series history. The storyline should be this guy is so insanely good at road courses, it's not even funny. Those should be the storylines. Case in point, when Harrison Burton won at Daytona last year, I know I was there. The storyline should have been the guy just got fired, but he still proved the doubters wrong and won Daytona. The storyline should have been Wood Brothers got their 100th victory on the biggest stage in NASCAR, the biggest track in NASCAR. But what's going to be the storyline until we get to August? SVG's in the playoffs, guys. The guy who has been running dead last every race, he's now in the playoffs because he won at Mexico. Now, it's not SVG's fault. It's not Trackhouse's fault. Those are the rules that they have been given. They're just playing by the rules. Don't get mad at the player. Get mad at the game. Because I'm sorry. This whole debate about, if SVG could win, if Ryan Preece should be able to win, Chris Buescher should be able to win if SVG could do it. And there's some times where I literally just question, like, if some of y'all even know what racing is. Because there are some things that people will say where, a little jab at you, Will, technology ruins racing. That's just a joke, but I do believe that. But when they say something like that, or even worse, they should be able to win and not SVG or a guy lower in points. It's things like that I hear where I just genuinely have to come out and say, that's a comment that tells me you know nothing about racing. You know very little about racing. Racing is not as simple as going out and dominating more times than not, or just going out and winning. If it was that easy, Kyle Larson would win 80% of the races in the year. William Byron would have more than one win this year. Denny Hamlin would have more than 3 wins this year. If it was as simple as you guys think, then the really best drivers in the sport would have already done that. But it's not that. I don't think some of you guys understand how hard it is to win a race, and really how unpredictable it is to win a race. Why do you think that they want super speedways covering the schedule left and right? Daytona, Talladega, Atlanta. Why do you think the next gen car is built the way it is? To build unpredictability. When racing is already unpredictable as is. But that's what they want. It's not as simple as go out there and win. If it's that simple, you go out there and trying to do it. Guess what? You won't even make it through the pace lap. So when the guy 33rd in points goes out and wins, whatever. But to say that, oh, the guys ahead of him should have won already, it just shows that anyone, and I stand by this statement, anyone who tries to use that statement to defend the playoffs, you know nothing about motorsport. And I rarely say this to people, but please, keep your mouth shut, because you just proved to me and to anyone who actually knows even 2% about racing that you know nothing about it. I'm starting to get a little bit heated here. Let's just pull up Will's tweet right here. He's going to make it known he has things to say. Will, you better have something to say right now.
Yeah, man. As much as I love NASCAR, one thing NASCAR loves, I'll take my glasses off for this one. NASCAR loves to ruin good things. And, we used to be a sport where you worked all year, you battled, and the best of the best pretty much won the championship each and every year. There was no excuse for why someone else didn't win the championship. Even back in the day when Jeff Gordon won 10 races in 1996 and Terry Labonte won 2, Labonte was the champion. Obviously, Twitter and social media wasn't around, but I guarantee everybody said, hey, Jeff Gordon shouldn't have wrecked 8 times that year.
Mm-hmm.
That's how championships were. Nobody complained about them because everything seemed to be legitimate back in the day. And nowadays, we try to find every single way we can to have an asterisk, but it's not really there because it's the rule book. Listen, none of this is directed at SVG. I've had multiple people try to tell me, well, if it was Brad Keselowski who won, you wouldn't care. If it was Ty Gibbs who would win, you would. I don't want anyone who is not in the top 16 in points to be in the postseason.
Mm-hmm.
Shouldn't have 16, topic for another day. But you should have to earn your way to the postseason. Every other sport, you have to earn your way to the postseason. In the NFL, you don't, there's not a rule that if you win 3 games in a row, you're locked into the playoffs. There's not a rule in any other sport that if you're good for just 1 week, you're in. In this sport, there is. And all respect to SVG, we just saw one of the most dominant performances in NASCAR history, but that's going to be overlooked because the storyline is now going to be that he's in the playoffs, and whether you're advocating that it's good that he's in or the argument that he shouldn't be in. Those are going to dominate the headlines for the next week. Instead of Mexico and having the first international race since 1958, instead of SVG putting on just one of the baddest performances we've ever seen and winning by 16-plus seconds, it's going to be the argument about the playoffs. I look forward to being part of that argument throughout the week and agitating folks about that because it just shouldn't happen this way. How can anyone look at this rule? I never even liked you got to be top 30 rule. Remember, we used to have the top 30 rule, and even I'm thinking 30. Why 30? You should at minimum be top 20, top 25. Like, let's make these boys have to work for it. Mm-hmm. Well, then when they cut that out, I remember me and you talking about this. When they cut out the top 30 rule beginning last year, I said, they've proven they do not care. Mm-hmm. They do not care. They just want chaos. They want everything to go through. And we're going to have major media members try to justify this and why it's right and why it's okay. And this is what we want. This is entertainment. This is exciting. And I guess it is entertaining that the guy that's ranked 29th every week is now getting to battle for a championship. And he's going to take away from someone like a Ryan Preece, right? Ryan Preece is having a career season. And what the conversation is ultimately going to be, because I don't personally see Preece winning this year in the regular season, is a guy like that's going to be left off the table. He's had a career year. What else do you want him to do? He's had a career year. Mm-hmm. And you can argue, oh, well, just win. Okay. Chase Elliott, then I guess he can't win. He shouldn't be in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Anybody who can't win shouldn't be in the playoffs.
Agreed.
You're making the argument that Shane Van Gisbergen might as well not even run a race the rest of the regular season. He's won, he's in, let him go. He can just sit at home until it's time to go in the postseason. I don't like that argument. I don't think any other sport rewards something like that. People like to throw out the NFL wild card thing, but they still have to win like more of their games than lose. Majority of the time, a wild card still wins 60% of their games.
Exactly.
I think that's the difference there. It just fires me up because it just furthers, Harrison Burton was still a little bit worse because at least SVG did put on a dominant performance, but they're together. It doesn't matter. I don't care. If you're not top 16 in points, you shouldn't be in the postseason.
Agreed. Like, how can you say a guy who is, 13, 14 spots worse in points, oh, they just get to jump into the top 16? Like, it sounds ridiculous as is. Just hearing that. Oh, where is he at in points most of your 30th? Oh, he's in the playoffs? I thought it was top 16. Yeah, he won a race.
Right. It's confusing. It's overall, like, yes, it is simple to understand. But when you're trying to explain to someone, why does this guy deserve a shot, but this guy doesn't, it doesn't make any sense. It's a stupid argument. And NASCAR pigeonholes themselves like this all the time. But unfortunately, this is what they want. They've sold their soul for entertainment. This is what we're going to get. They don't care. When they took away the top 30 rule, it just furthered that they did not care. And I guess I'm sorry, Chris Buescher or Ryan Preece or Bubba Wallace, or whoever gets left out. When they probably have 60 more points, if not more, than Shane Van Gisbergen.
Exactly.
Sorry, doesn't matter. He won. He won back in June, so he's in the postseason, and you're not, and you can be meaningless for the final 10 weeks.
I wonder, hypothetical situation. If Cody Ware were to ever win a cup race because he's full-time, would you all think the same way that you're thinking about right now with SVG? But I guarantee you, because Cody Ware is not a popular driver, all of you would be up in arms about how this format should not be the way it is.
Right. And I think that's something people have to get out of their heads. I hold a lot of opinions that people like or dislike online.
It's almost like your name is NASCAR opinion.
I don't care who the driver is. If Chase Elliott was 30th in points, yes, as a fan, I'd be excited. But at the root of it, I still don't like that he would be in the playoffs if he is 30th in points.
Exactly.
It doesn't make sense. If you lay this rule out to any simple person who's never heard it, if I were to walk up to a person off the street who's never watched a single NASCAR race and I said, hey, if I performed badly for 25 weeks, but I was really good 1 week, should I get the same reward that someone who was good for 26 weeks gets?
No.
You shouldn't.
No.
And it just doesn't make sense.
Hey, no, perfect scenario. You have a job and you have a coworker. You do well, you're both, and there's a promotion available. You do good for most of the time, but then this one guy does bad all the time, but he has one good day, one great day, as a matter of fact. Should he have the same shot as getting the promotion as you?
Yep. Yeah.
That's what it is.
That's what the argument is.
Yeah, pretty much.
And it's just, and it irritates me the whole, well, this guy should just be able to win. Okay. So hold that to everybody then. This guy should be able to win. If they know what, if that's where you're going to draw the line, then let's use your own argument. If you can't win, you're not in the playoffs. Only winners get to make the playoffs. If you can't win, you're not good enough.
Yeah.
That's how people want it to be, apparently. A couple years ago, when Truex missed it, and Truex was like third in points. Oh, well, he should have won. Okay, so then why do we run these races? Why does it matter then?
Yeah.
Let's make it all just a one-race season, line them all up, and how they finish is how they finish in standings. Whoever wins that race, let's just go ahead and put it Daytona, Talladega, whichever one you want to pick, just to make it as big of an entertainment show that we can. Whoever wins at Talladega is your champion. Because other than that, why do we run these races?
Or how about this? If you win a race, you can stay home until the playoffs start.
Yeah, you just get to sit at home. There's no point to run the rest of the races. Yeah, it makes no sense.
It's absolutely ridiculous. Again, like, just when I hear that, just win, it is so stupid. Like, that argument actually gets me mad. Because, like, again, it's just like, you guys don't know about racing. You don't know what it means to win.
And inevitably, I don't have the research on front of this, but every year we know there's one or two guys that make the playoffs that have no business being there. SVG is going to be one of those guys. And nothing against him. I personally like him in the sport. I want to see him run well. But it weakens your championship field. Because instead of having 16 of these are the best 16, the entire 1 through 16, because there's 16 to 20 drivers that can win in this every single week. Instead of having 16 drivers that you're like, oh, they could win almost any given week, you're going to have 12 or 13 guys that can win almost any week, and then you're going to have 2 or 3 where you're going, why are they here?
Here's another thing, too.
And they might make it. They might make it through the first round. Hell, they might even get lucky, make it through the second round. But immediately they're not winning the championship.
Also, listen to the round of 16. Darlington, Gateway, Bristol. Does any one of you really think that SVG is going to make it out of the round of 16 when the lone road course on the schedule is in the round of 12?
I would be very surprised.
He is a waste of a playoff spot. That is it. He's just a waste of a playoff spot, and he's the guaranteed 16th in points finisher.
And that's what I hate part of it, too, is I want to be able to sit back and just enjoy SVG winning. Because we should enjoy it, right? It's a big deal. It's a second ever Cup win. It's not your run-of-the-mill Christopher Bell or Denny Hamlin or whoever just wins the race. It's not Kyle Larson. All right? This is a guy that we don't get to see win very often. He just won, did it in dominant fashion, and we just were in freaking Mexico. Let's enjoy that for the moment, soak it in, and not have to be guarded by the playoff talk. But unfortunately, the playoff talk has to come with it because that's the stipulation NASCAR set up.
It's terrible, terrible. And I also hate it, too. It's like, oh, you're locked into the playoffs. Like, the playoffs are 2 months away. Like, I don't want to hear about they talk about the playoffs for winning the Daytona 500. It just pisses me off. Like, I've said this plenty of times before. Race fans don't care about playoffs or championships. First and foremost, we want a good product. That is all we want at the end of the day. We want a good race. We want a good product, a good car. That is what comes first. So when you overshadow it with the championship, still very early in the season, might I add, it's like, why are we talking about this now? We don't want to hear about it. Because then it gets to the point where we're just like, I'm tired of hearing about the playoffs. I don't want to hear about it until we get there. No one in the NFL, we're not talking about the playoffs and the season opener. We're not talking about the playoffs in week 5. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Tiger.
All right. This is one I definitely have to talk about. Daniel Suarez winning the Xfinity race. I know probably the Cup race would have been maybe something that he would have preferred. I made a short about Daniel Suarez earlier this week about his chances of sweeping. At the beginning of that Cup race, it actually looked pretty solid. But I don't think you guys understand how big of a deal it is, Suarez winning the Xfinity race. Very rarely do NASCAR drivers get a chance who were born outside the U.S. An SVG, a Daniel Suarez, even a Catherine Legge, even though she'll never win a Cup race, but very rarely do these drivers outside of the U.S. get a chance to win in their homeland. Daniel Suarez winning here, I think, is one of the biggest moments possibly in the modern era for NASCAR, especially in the 2020s. I mean, folks, some of y'all, if there's anyone in the comments from Mexico, if there's any, listeners from Mexico, tell me just how big of a deal motorsports is in Mexico. Because when F1 goes to Mexico, it is a huge deal. When Sergio Perez was on the grid, that man was like Dale. You thought Dale Sr. was inside the body of Sergio Perez. Even Pato O'Ward on the IndyCar side, that man is huge in Mexico. Like, the fan base is enormous. And Suarez is the same way. What is one reason that is the case? Because it's not just the fan base that's behind Suarez. It's not just Trackhouse fans. It's not just Suarez fans. He's got a whole country behind him. It's different for Kyle Larson when he goes to Sonoma. You got the city of Sonoma behind your back. Or William Byron when he goes to Charlotte. You got the city behind your back. This is a man that has the country, the whole country of Mexico, rooting for him. The whole country of Mexico wanting him to win. That is a lot of pressure to put on a driver. And he delivered. Started dead last in the field. Crashed during qualifying. An embarrassing moment in front of your home crowd. Starts dead last. Beats the two Dominic drivers in Ty Gibbs and Connor Zillage that day. Again, folks, if you're someone who lives outside the U.S. and you get to compete for your country and you win in front of your family, in front of your countrymen, that holds more weight than you can ever imagine. I said in that short, Daniel Suarez would probably trade that Xfinity title for a sweep in Mexico. I guarantee you this win in Mexico means more to him than that Xfinity title he got 9 years ago. I mean, folks, I haven't seen a crowd that riled up for an Xfinity race, for an Xfinity winner, in a long time. Maybe since when Dale Jr. won in the 3 car back in, I think, 2011. This is going to go down as one of the biggest wins, period. Because, again, it's not just a driver winning in front of his fans. It's not just a driver winning for his team. It's a driver winning for his country. That's how big of a deal that is. And I just really want to emphasize that. I know you asked me like earlier this week and like how big of a deal is like Suarez in Mexico. And again, you saw it there. The fans were going ballistic. Like, what do you think the implications are just in general for like Suarez winning in Mexico, all of that?
I think it really benefits the relationship for the two parties, right? Because Mexico gets to have that little bit of taste of their guy wins. And I think for Suarez, it builds a lot of confidence. Another thing, and then we'll kind of get back on Mexico, is I think we also have to realize the contract situation Suarez is in right now. very high chance he doesn't return to that car. I think that kind of performance showing how dominant he could be coming from the rear in a backup car and winning also probably plays a big dividend for him moving forward, whether it's Cup or Xfinity. That's another topic for something else. But, I think it was just a really good feel-good moment. Even I, who watched that race yesterday, it felt good to see Suarez, who doesn't have a lot of highs in this sport. He's won a couple of races in the Cup Series. He had that championship almost a decade ago. But it's nice to see guys who don't get too many of those high moments have one of those moments. And I thought it was really a feel-good moment. This had to be a dream situation for him. Of course, I know he wanted to win the Cup race, but to be able to celebrate at home, there's a lot of pressure. You've already wrecked your primary car. You're thinking about all the different elements that are going on there. Your friends, your family, everyone that you know is there. And then able to go out and win, I think is phenomenal. And he showcases the kind of driver he still is, goes to the Xfinity field and just puts on a show. Mm-hmm. So I think for him, it was just a great feel-good moment. And every now and then you just want to have those feel-good moments. We get those, a couple of times a year, and it was good to really see that yesterday. And I think it also helps on like the conspiracy theory front that he wins yesterday and doesn't magically all of a sudden go today and be dominant. And we haven't seen that ever out of him.
He did lead it. He was up there for like the first stage.
He did. And you heard the crowd pop, and then he lost it in like half a lap. But you could definitely tell because I think there was a wreck happening when he took the lead. But I was like, why is the crowd cheering all of a sudden? Then I look, and the 99's in the lead. And it was just really cool. You could tell it meant a lot to them. And their country means a lot to them. Mexicans are known for really being territorial in sports when it comes to their sport because international sports. I mean, they're built on things like soccer and things like that where the country comes first, not the player, the country. That is what comes first. And it's really cool to see that dynamic. I mean, the closest thing I can think about it in any kind of American relation is just when the Olympics come around. You see everybody kind of get behind Team USA. It's the same deal down there, except they got one guy. They got one guy versus the rest of them. Exactly. And I thought it was a really cool moment yesterday. I really, really felt happy for him and to get to see that moment. And that'll be a moment he never forgets. I don't think there'll ever be, that is going to be a career highlight for him. And it was cool that we got to see that unfold.
Absolutely. I mean, you said it perfectly. All right, let's move on to race weekend rankings, everybody. We only got 2 races. Obviously, we got the Xfinity and the Cup race. This, I'm going to say, is pretty simple. I'm going to put the Cup race at 1 and the Xfinity race at 2. The Xfinity race I thought was very good. Zillage versus Ty Gibbs, chef's kiss. Phenomenal. Suarez, of course, winning. Huge storyline. I mean, thank God Suarez is a part-timer in Xfinity because... if he was full-time, hey, Suarez, you're in the playoffs, man. Which, thank God, we don't have to hear that. We could just enjoy the moment, the story of Suarez winning in front of his people. Phenomenal, beautiful. But even the race as a whole, I mean, Suarez had to earn it again. I think it was Taylor Gray almost had the whole country of Mexico after his head if he would have got to the back of Suarez out of turn 14 to 15. So, Suarez had to earn that win. It was a battle, first and foremost, throughout the entirety of the field. It was phenomenal. The reason I put the Cup race in first, even though SVG won by 16 seconds, was you had more action, more variables. You had the rain aspect of the race. You had calamity, but not too much calamity to where it got tiring, like Nashville last year, or the truck race at the end of Michigan. SVG versus Ty Gibbs. Like Will mentioned, the storylines of SVG dominating. Can Ty Gibbs finally get back on track? You had Christopher Bell working his way through the field. It even looked like for a few moments there were other guys, like Ross Chastain was making moves as well. Even if you want to talk about the smaller storylines, Ryan Preece was up there. Where did he come from in a road course? So many storylines. And again, action-packed, the strategy throughout. Not one strategy was the best out of the other. Remember, it looked like that SVG strategy wasn't going to work, and he never got the rain he needed to make it work. But he was so good and made that strategy work. I like when there's multiple variables throughout a race. I don't need just crashes or 30 or 40 car packs. I like it when unpredictable issues. I mean, that's one of them. Like, this wire doesn't want to function properly. But anyways, back to what I was saying. I like natural unpredictability, strategy, natural yellows. Who's got the right strategy, who doesn't? who's going to save the field, who's going to take care of their tires. It's that kind of stuff that's organic. It makes it more interesting. It's like the fuel finish at Michigan. It makes it interesting. It makes it pop. Yes, SVG won by 16 seconds, but again, I appreciate things like that. It may not be entertaining. That last 10 laps, you're like, all right, he's setting sail, but I appreciate that. So because of that, it felt more like a I just appreciate that more. Plus, the Xfinity race got a little too calamity for me. Just a little bit. But honestly, you could switch these around and I really wouldn't even get mad. I would understand, but I'm going to take the Cup race at number 1. Moving on to our 2025 tier list. So actually, let me see if this will. Let's see if this will. Okay, there we go. That should help it a little bit. Not too much, but a little bit. So there we go. So here is the tier list. I'll make it quick. I'm actually going to put these races at the top of A tier. You know, at the beginning, I did really contemplate putting the Mexico Cup race in S tier, but it really is hard to justify putting a margin of victory of over 16 seconds in the S tier. It really is. I was very tempted to, but I feel like I can't. But I think there was enough good in this race to put it in the A tier, definitely. Xfinity Mexico the same way. I think COTA is still the best road course race of the year, and I think Michigan is still the best overall race of the year. But not much change in terms of everything else. This is what we got so far for the 2025 season. As usual, show me your race weekend rankings in the comments, or excuse me, in the description below. We have the links. Tag me and the Daily Downforce, and we'll share it so that we can spread the love. Will, I know you didn't really get to see Michigan, but I can already tell what you're thinking here.
Boo this man. Boo this man.
What do you mean, boo?
On the race weekend rankings, man, boo this man. The Xfinity Series race had Suarez wreck a primary car, come from the back and win, and Taylor Gray almost sacrificed his life in the final corner. All right, you have Zillage versus Ty Gibbs. How do you put the Cup race over it? Here's the hot take. Overall, I think Mexico was a success. I actually like it because you get the international. I didn't really think about the international fan until you start seeing these fans. And you got people that have been watching this sport for 2 decades that have never seen their drivers in person. That's cool. Every single drive, like Todd Gilliland is getting swarmed by people.
Yeah.
How did the hell I even know who Todd Gilliland is? But like, he's swarmed by people. That stuff is cool. Drivers felt important. That was badass. But let's be honest about the Cup race. Take away a little bit of the weather, which I know you can't take away weather. Weather's natural, but still. Take out the weather. I don't know if this race really provides a lot. It really, my biggest fear is what happened. That third and final stage was pretty much going to get strung out and gone. And SVG smoked them. And you still had some guys like Chase Elliott work their way through the top 10, which was really cool to see. But there really wasn't a ton going on outside of that. There wasn't big storylines. You had a little bit of the Stenhouse Hocevar, which maybe something happened post-race I hadn't seen yet. But to me, the Xfinity Series just naturally provided more storyline, more battles. Even to the very end, you didn't know, was Gray willing to sacrifice his life to have an American in Victory Lane in Mexico? That was going to be crazy if he did. I got to boo this man. There's no way.
You know what? You talked me into it. We're going to put the tier list back up real quick. We'll show the Mexico one first. So I'm going to swap them. I think he just talked me into it. But that Xfinity race was so good, man. Hot take. It's the second best race of the year. I'm putting the Xfinity race. I'm still keeping Mexico Cup at the top of A tier. You're not taking that away from me. But that Xfinity race, man. Suarez winning. Taylor Gray almost getting a hit list from the cartel. Zillage, Ty Gibbs. I mean, it had everything you wanted. So, updated, because I'm allowed to change my opinion. I'm not like some of these content creators where they have an opinion, then they stubbornly stick by it. I'm allowed to change my opinion. When new information is provided, I can change my opinion. So, with new information provided, I'm going to put this in. I think Michigan is still overall the best race of the year. You can't take that away. Mexico Xfinity, number 2. And then, got a podium here for the S tier. How about that one?
Hey, I'm glad that you had common sense there. I'm glad you had open ears.
up before my mic actually, and more specifically this wire starts to die on me. Will, thanks for coming on, man. I know we got to get you off here just a little bit, but hey, man, thanks for coming on. This was awesome, and I knew once SVG won, I was like, please still be on. Uh-oh. Did we lose him? Will, you there? Uh-oh.
You got me?
Yeah, now we got you. Woo!
There we go. But yeah, hey, I was happy to come on. I know we were kind of worried about the time because I have another show I have to do after this. We were like, oh, if this race has some cautions, we might be in some trouble. But, overall, it was cool. I was in a great mood. Father's Day weekend, relaxed all weekend, got to see racing. Again, I really – the logistics I wish were better for the sport, but I do think going to Mexico was a good decision. I think this would be a cool place to go maybe every 3 or 4 years. Keep that magic a little bit. I don't necessarily think this needs to be an every year kind of date for the Cup Series or NASCAR in general. I'd like to kind of see it rotate with international places. But I like it. Overall, I thought it was a hit. The racing, we've definitely had worse races. So I thought both the races had compelling storylines and things that you wanted to talk about. SPG winning, of course, was going to set me off a ledge. And, I don't know. It was cool, though. But yeah, it's been fun, but always glad to join the show.
All right, well, you already know what it is. The floor is all yours. But, yeah, guys know what to do here. You guys see the Twitter handle. You guys see the TikTok handle. Go raid this man. Go raid this man here. The raid has begun. See where my pen is pointed there. NASCAR opinion. If you guys are on Twitter, 9 times out of 10, you probably have seen him already. But, Will, where can we find you? What do you do? All that good stuff.
At NASCAR_opinion on Twitter and on X and TikTok. I need to do some more on the TikTok page, just throwing out opinions. Also, if you're in the upstate of South Carolina, come and see me. I'm the track announcer at Anderson Motor Speedway. Also do social media for Anderson and the Carolina Sprint Tour, which is a traveling 305 sprint car series in the Southeast. So anytime you support Anderson Motor Speedway or the Carolina Sprint Tour, you're supporting me. So I'll also appreciate that.
All right. Thank you, Will, again for coming on. And guys, thank everyone for tuning on as well. Make sure you guys like this stream and subscribe as well. But that's going to do it for this episode, guys. If you guys want to follow me on my socials, you guys see it underneath me, the Instagram, the TikTok. This wire starts pissing me off. You guys can follow me. The links are down below as well. But that's going to do it for us, folks. We're going to wave the checkered flag. This is the Cutline. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And we will see you. Matt, see ya. Adios, Mexico, Rage and Knuckles. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll see you for Pocono. See you then.